In 1982, I was still in high school. As mentioned previously, I learned guitar, and Dave and Ed and I got together to form Fame in the Future. Well, that type of fame has eluded us, but we each have had a future. Dave has a beautiful wife and a great job down south, and Ed, well, honestly, we really don't know. He moved out of our hometown, headed up to the northern suburbs, and we really haven't heard anything. So on the small chance you hear in this little video, drop us a line. Love to hear from you. Well, today, our song hit the top of the charts in 1982. This artist began in Motown with his brothers and sisters, being born in nearby Gary, Indiana. The guitar solo was done by another of the 80s greats, actually all-time greats, Eddie Van Halen. And I'm sure he will not be the last time we hear Eddie showing up on these musical reflections. Now, as this song has been lauded as one of the greatest songs of all time, yeah, you could not miss this artist if you grew up during this era, from hit records to Pepsi commercials, and made hit music throughout the world. It was the third single off his Thriller album, which were massive hits and speaks with passion about the social justice theme. There are things to stand up for, but proving yourself is a concept that should just be it. Back in those days, I was fairly headstrong, as most teenagers are. I knew everything, and I knew how things were supposed to be. Music had taught me quite a bit about social justice. Yeah, I hate to break it to everybody, but most of those hard rock, heavy metal music was just a reaction to social iniquities. And some of those songs really hit the nail on the head when it came to problems and issues of the day. But being headstrong, though, no one really could tell me that I was wrong. I can relate to the words, I want to be tough, so I did what I can. But that kind of entrenched thinking can really get us in some trouble. Let's face it, today you can have any type of political discussion and find out and see what entrenched thinking is all about. And this kind of entrenched thinking can be very dangerous. Holding on to the idea as a fact, which is in reality simply a personal judgment. A prudential judgment is simply that, a judgment held by us based on interpretation of the reality around us. Okay, that's a mouthful of words, but taking away all the psychobabble, there are certain truths which we can be lived out in various ways. Each person making economic process is a great thought, but how do we do that? What are the myriad of possibilities that may work? And we think and we hold on to an idea. The reality is this idea may or may not work. It's not a universal truth, but we can make it feel that way. It can become a truth in our mind, and we will not shake it. Sort of based on my experience, green is the best color. And then sticking with that. Now, in fact, your mind, even when it's going up against somebody else who feels that blue is the best color, you start these arguments, then showing you are strong and tough, you make it your fight. Now, once the fight begins, at that point, it really doesn't matter. But one gets into situations like this and has to learn to just let it go. As the song says, we don't want to see no blood or be a macho man. We can get stuck in our hearts and just stick to our guns. And when we really think about it, these things are just a simple judgment. Songs have shown the futility of joining a gang where the purpose is to just show off, grab as much power, and destroy any enemy. And do it without any thinking of those who are even supporting us. We saw this in shows like West Side Story, read about it in The Outsiders, and sung about it in our song today. There are truths for which you stand up for. God being the creator and the center of the universe. That's a truth to fight for. People will disagree. We still stand, though, for that truth, because it is the truth. And Jesus warned us that people would not necessarily give us peace in return for our statements of truth. And he does not say, pull out a knife and stab the guy, but in effect says, just beat it. Shake the dust off your sandals, move on to the next place, and evangelize there. Now, it certainly helps as you learn more and can actually listen to other people's ideas, which may or may not be completely true, but they do have a kernel of truth in them. You can show them how the way they are looking at things does not hold the full truth, but in a loving, caring way, not fighting. Humility is a virtue that we are all meant to be very good at. We have to learn it. God is the center of our lives. That is the ultimate truth, right with the truth that God is love and being itself. Truths like this do need to be fought for, but not the way we have historically done it. I think it's fairly safe to say that fighting and killing is not the best way to bring the truth of God into the world. An act of faith is truly a good thing in response to the love of God. However, when our own individual ideas start to creep in and supplant ideas which everyone knows down deep are true, you know what you have to say to those ideas, right? Now today's song, of course, Beat It, is written by Michael Jackson off the Thriller album released by Epic Records in 1982. Have a great day. God bless.